Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Um, just type in the chat if you all can hear me, please. All right, guys. Okay, so let's start, right? Right. So this is just part one of a few sessions that I'm gonna be keeping free for everybody, right? Today I'm gonna be focusing my attention on algebra, which is essentially the question twos that you're gonna get in your exam, right? Now CXC has updated their hints or what they suspect might be coming in the exam, right? And these are the topics that they indicated in the revised schedule, right? So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be focusing my attention on examination questions based on these topics, okay? So let's look at this first question here, right? This is from June 2004, and let's look at the first part. So they want us to simplify, right? So they've given us an algebraic fraction here, right? This one here is x squared minus 1, right, divided by x minus 1, right? And they want us to simplify this. Now, if you all look carefully, the numerator, which is the top part of this equation, right, looks like the difference of two squares. Now, there are four different kinds of factorization that you guys need to know. And the first one was this. A squared, or one of them would have been this. A squared minus b squared is what we call the difference of two squares. So therefore, this here is going to be written as a plus b into a minus b, right? So this is something that you guys need to remember. So this is one form of factorization. So the first part of this equation, the top part, the numerator, I can write that as the difference of two squares, because x squared minus 1 can be written as x squared minus 1 squared. So therefore, that can be written as x plus 1 multiplied by x minus 1. So therefore, the numerator here is going to be x plus 1 multiplied by x minus 1 all over x minus 1, right? Now, if you look carefully, you realize you have x minus 1 on top and you have x minus 1 below. That means that this here can cancel with this, and then my final answer here is going to be x plus 1. So when they say simplify this here is going to be my answer, right? Now we're going to apply the same principles to the second part of the question. So that is 4ab squared. So let's write that. We're going to have 4ab squared plus 2a squared b plus 2a squared b all over, and this is going to be ab at the bottom. So this is ab here. So you want to simplify that. So we're going to apply the same principle that we just used there. We're going to try to simplify this by factorizing the top. On the top part, you have numbers, right? And you have a's and you have b's. So if I were to factorize the top using the HCF method, I'm going to get the HCF of 4 and 2 is going to give me 2. The HCF of a and a squared is going to give me a, and the HCF of b squared and b is going to give me b. So that is what I can factor out at the top of the equation. But then when I factor those things out, I'm going to have to put a 2 here, and I'm going to have to put a b here, right? Plus, I'm going to have to put an a here, and that's it, right? So what I've done there, all I've done is factorize the top part or the numerator using the HCF method. And this is all over AB, right? Now this can be simplified further because you will realize that, wait a minute, this AB can cancel with this AB here. And then what I'm going to get is 2, open brackets, 2b plus e, right? So that's my answer for the second part. I have simplified the expression they've given to me. So I've simplified this, right? So that's A part 2. The next part here now, they want us to express as a single fraction. What they are asking me to do here is to write that as one fraction. The question as it is, you are adding 3p over 2 plus q over p. So we're going to add that just like we add two fractions. So it is 3p over 2. So this is part B we're doing here. So this is 3p over 2 plus q over p. Plus q over p, right? So we're going to add these here. Whenever you're adding two fractions, the first thing we need to do, we need to find our LCM. So you're going to draw this line here, and we're going to find the LCM of 2 and p, and the LCM of 2 and p, because those are two different variables, my LCM here is going to be 2p, right? Now, typically, what we have to do, we have to ask ourselves, this 2 can go into this 2p how many times? So you're going to do this. You're going to say 2p divided by 2, right? That's going to give me p, because this 2 will cancel with this. And then that answer, I need to take that and multiply by my numerator. So it's 3p multiplied by p. And that's going to give me 3p squared, right? You're going to write back your plus sign. Then we're going to say, we're going to take this 2p here and divide it by this p. So therefore, 2p divided by p is going to give me, this p will cancel with this, and I'm going to get 2. And I'll have to take this 2 and I'm going to multiply by this q that is on top here. So 2 by q is going to give me 2q. So this is 2q, right? And that's it. I can't do anything else there, right? That's it. I've actually added those two fractions, right? So that's part B. Part C now, this is one that some students, they have trouble with. So we have 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. So you have 3x squared minus 7x plus 2 is equal to 0, right? Now this equation as it is, it's a quadratic equation, right? So before I can do anything with this, I'm going to attempt to factorize 3x squared. So that's my first step. I want to be able to factorize 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. That's what I really need to do initially. I need to factorize that first before I can do anything, right? So I'm going to do this on this side here. Now, how I typically teach factorization of a quadratic function is by actually using the sum and product methods, right? Now, what does that mean? What does that really mean? So what that really means is that I need to find two numbers whose sum, so I'm looking for two numbers whose sum is actually equal to my middle term here, or the coefficient of x. My sum has to be equal to minus 7, and my product has to be, right, I need to take my coefficient of x squared and multiply by my constant. So 3 multiplied by 2, right? So my product, right, has to be 3 multiplied by 2, which is 6. Now there are some students who can look at this and factorize this very easily, right? And that's fine. You can do that in the exam if you want. Now, I'm looking for two numbers whose sum is minus 7 and whose product is 6. Could you all tell me what those two numbers are? I'm looking for two numbers whose sum is minus 7, right? And whose product is 6. All right, so I see somebody said minus 6 and minus 1. Let's look at that. So if we look at minus 1 and minus 6, you have to ask yourself, minus 1 plus minus 6, yes, that will give me minus 7. And minus 1 multiplied by minus 6 is going to give me plus 6, right? So that's correct. Those are the two numbers I'm looking for. So what do I do with those two numbers? those two numbers here, I'm going to replace my middle term. See this term here? I'm going to replace that middle term using those two numbers. So this here is going to be 3x squared. And how I'm using the minus 1, I'm going to write that as minus x. How am I using the minus 6? I'm going to write minus 6x here, right? Plus 2, right? Now, what I need to do now, I'm going to factorize by grouping, right? So the 3x squared minus x, the only thing I can factor out there is going to be x. So this is going to be 3x minus 1, right? And what I typically tell my class here, you have minus 6x plus 2. The only thing I can factor out there is a 2. So this is going to be 2, open brackets. And what I told my class is that the two brackets have to be the same when I'm factorizing by grouping. So therefore, I know that this has to be 3x minus 1, right? And that is going to allow me to decide what sign am I going to put here. So if I want to get back minus 6 plus 2x, it means that this here has to be a minus sign. So therefore, when I factorize this, this is going to be 3x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 2. But like I said, there are some students who can factorize this just by looking at it, and that's fine, right? So what I've done, I've just factorized the left-hand side of this equation. So therefore, I'm going to write that as 3x minus 1 in brackets multiplied by x minus 2 in brackets equal to 0. Now, this is a quadratic that I'm trying to factorize. A quadratic can have one solution, two solutions, or it can have no solution at all, right? But this is CSEC maths. You will get a solution unless the CSEC tells you otherwise, right? Now, I have two brackets here being multiplied by 0, right? Sorry, being multiplied to give me an answer of 0. So therefore, my two solutions will be this. I'm going to have to say either, right? This will give me one solution. So either 3x minus 1 is equal to 0, right? Therefore, 3x is equal to 1, and therefore x is equal to 1/3. So this is one solution to my equation. The other solution, what we call the OR, right? We're going to say x minus 2. So the second bracket, we need to put that equal to 0. So therefore, x is equal to 2. So my solutions are this. X is 1/3 or x is equal to 2 to this equation that we have up here, right? Now, this is a typical examination question. You could potentially see this in your exam, all right? So that's my answer there. Right? So that takes care of A, B, and C of this question here in June 2004. All right? So let's move on, right? I'm going to try to do as much questions as I can do in the session today, right? This is June 2005. They want you to express this here as a single fraction in its simplest form, right? That's what you want to do. So let's see. You want to add this part E. My equation or my expression is 2 minus b over b. So this is 2 minus b divided by b plus 2 plus b plus 2 plus b over 4b, right? That's what I want to add. I want to add those two, right? So just like the question before, because you're adding two fractions, I need to find my LCM, right? Now you have b, so equal sign on the equal sign here. I'm going to draw a line. So you have to ask yourself the LCM of b and 4b, right? The LCM of b and 4b is simply going to be 4b. That's my LCM here, right? And just like the question before, you have to take this 4b and divide it by this b. So that's what I'm going to do here. 4b divided by b. This b will cancel with this, and you're going to get 4. But the answer that you get, you need to take that and you have to multiply it by my numerator. Now that 4 is multiplying by every single thing that is on top there, which is the 2 minus b. So this is going to be 4, right, multiplied by 2 minus b. You're going to put back your plus sign. That's the sign up here. You're going to put back this plus sign. And then you have to take this 4b again, right, your LCM, and you need to divide it by this 4b here. So 4b divided by 4b, everything is going to cancel here, and you're going to get 1. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to multiply by this numerator here, right? Which is going to be 1 multiplied by 2 plus b. So now we need to start to simplify here, right? So you have some brackets that you need to remove, and you're going to have to use your distributive law in order to do that, right? So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say 4 multiplied by 2. 4 2s will give me 8. Then 4 multiplied by minus b is going to give me minus 4b, right? Then I have to take this plus 1 and multiply by 2. So this is going to be plus 2. And then I have to take this plus 1 and multiply by this b, and that's going to give me plus b. And all of this is over 4b. So on the top now, you need to simplify. 8 plus 2, that's going to give me 10. And minus 4b plus b is going to give me minus 3b, right? All over 4b. And that's my answer there, right? That's how we simplify, or how we add those two fractions. So that's my answer for part A for 3 marks here, right? Now let's do part B now. So part B is a question on factorization, right? So let's see what we have to factorize here. So this is B part 1, 2m squared minus 18. So this is B part 1, and this is 2m squared minus 18, right? Now, there are 4 different kinds of factorization that CSEC can give you, and you need to be familiar with all 4 of them. That is the HCF method, the difference of 2 squares, factorizing by grouping, and factorizing a quadratic. Those are the 4 that CSEC can choose from to give you any exam, right? Now, 2m squared minus 18, right? If you just look at it, you realize, wait a minute, I can use the HCF method, and if I do that, I can factor out 2, in which case it's going to be m squared minus 9. So there are some students, they will stop right there. But if you stop there, you're not going to get the full marks. Because if you look carefully, you realize, wait a minute, this m squared minus 9 here is actually the difference of 2 squares, right? Now remember, in the previous question, I told you all, you need to remember this. If you see the difference of 2 squares, when I factorize this, it's going to be a plus b into a minus b, right? Now, so this question requires some further attention. So you can't do anything with the 2, so leave it as is. But the m squared minus 9 can be written as m squared minus 3 squared, right? And to me, that looks like this. That looks like the difference of 2 squares. So therefore, I can write this as 2, open brackets, m plus 3 in one bracket, and then I can put an m minus 3 in the second bracket. So look out for questions like these where you have to use the HCF method plus the difference of 2 squares, right? And sometimes what the hint that CSEC usually gives, they tell you this. They say factorize completely. So if ever you see that in the exam, pay attention to that. That's important, right? Now let's do the second. So that's part 1. Let's do this part now. Now, if we look at this here, we have 4 variables. That's also a hint to us. Every time you see 4 variables in the exam, more than likely it is a factorization by grouping, right? So let's write out, what is that? 3p q squared minus, so this is part 2. This is 3p q squared. So it's 3p q squared minus pq plus 3rq minus pq plus 3. Right? There's another little typo here. This should be minus pq, right? Right. So let me just, so it's 3p squared minus pq plus 3rq minus r, plus 3rq minus r. Right, so we want to factorize this, and like I told you, if you see 4 variables, right, if you look carefully, you have, this is one variable here, this is a second variable, this is a third, and this is a fourth. So therefore, chances are I can use the factorizing by grouping as my method. So what this method does, you group terms together and you use the HCF method in order to factorize. So if you have 3 pq squared minus pq, right? And I want to factorize that. The only thing I have common here will be p and I can also factor out a q, and therefore this is going to be 3 minus, sorry, this is going to be 3q minus 1, right? So when I group these two terms, the first two terms, I'm going to get pq, open brackets, 3q minus 1, right? Then we need to factorize this piece here now. Now the only thing that is common across here is the r. So this is going to be r, open brackets, 3q minus 1. Now when you factorize them by grouping, the two brackets will be the same. And if you look carefully, you have 3q minus 1 here and 3q minus 1 here. So the only thing I need to do now is to put the correct sign here. The only way that can happen is if this is a plus sign, right? So my final answer, because I have a bracket that is common, I'm going to write that common bracket first. So this is going to be 3q minus 1, open brackets, pq plus r, right? And that's my answer there. That's how I factorize by grouping, right? So if you all want this in a little more detail, right, the different methods of factorization, you all can look. I did a session with those students writing the January exam. So just check on my channel, and there is a crash course that was done in January. Have a look at that paper, please, right, or that video. So that is B part 2. So that takes care of that. Now part C now. Now CSEC kind of said something about this. They said you're gonna get something related to let me see the exact thing they said. They called it. They said algebraic symbols. They said this: algebraic symbols and worded expressions. Now what that means is that CSEC is going to give you a question where you have to take that question, right? They're going to give you words, and you have to come up with an equation or an expression given words. So let's look at this question from this paper here. So let's look at this carefully and see if we can answer this, right? So we have the mass of one marble is x grams, right? So the mass of one marble is x grams. And the jar contains 400 marbles. So that's how many marbles in the jar. The empty jar has a mass of 60 grams. So here's what I want. Write an expression in x for the total mass of the jar and the marbles. So let me give you all a minute here to see if you can tell me what is the answer for part 1. What do you all think is the answer for part 1? Right? One marble has a mass of x grams, the jar has 400 marbles, and the empty jar has a mass of 60 grams. They want to know what is an expression for the total mass of the jar and the marbles. Right? What do you all think is the All right, so I'm seeing some answers coming in here. So let's look and see who's correct, right? So you know the mass of one marble. So you have the mass of one marble, right? Now when you get a question like this, all you really need to do is to break up the question in a way that you can understand, right? So the mass of one marble, they told us that it is x, right? The mass of one marble is x. But in the jar you have 400 marbles. So therefore the mass of 400 marbles, right, is going to be 400 multiplied by x. So this is going to be 400 multiplied by x, which is 400x, right? Then they told us the mass of the empty jar. So the mass of empty jar, right, is how much is that? It is 60 grams. So the mass of the empty jar is 60 grams, right? So think of it like this. You have a jar, right? The mass of the jar here is 60 grams, right? And then you have some marbles inside of this thing here. You have 400 marbles inside here, right? That's what's happening. So visualize what's going on. So my total mass, right, is going to be the mass of the empty jar, which is 60 grams, plus the mass of all the marbles, which is going to be 400x, right? So the answer is 60 plus 400x. If you write it the other way around, that's fine, right? So if you wrote it as 400x plus 60, that is still correct, right? So this is correct, and also this is correct. Either one is fine, right? That's my expression for my total mass. Then in part 2 now, we want to know, calculate the value of x if the total mass of the jar and the marbles is 1100 grams. So what they've told us now, they're telling us that the total mass is 1100 grams. They want us to calculate the value of x. That's what they want. So in part 2, all we need to do to solve this, we're going to say 400x plus 60 is equal to 1100, right? That's what it is. So therefore, we're going to solve this like a normal equation. So 400x is going to be 1100 minus 60, right? So 400x is going to be equal to 1100 minus 60. That's going to give me 1040, right? 1040. So therefore, x is simply going to be equal to 1040 divided by 400. So therefore, x is going to be equal to 2.6, right? So x is going to be equal to 2.6, right? And that is grams, 2.6 grams, right? Right? So my answer for this particular question here is 2.6, right? So these are the kinds of questions that you are expected to get in the exam. So please pay attention to these questions, okay? All right, so I saw some of you all got 2.6, great. So that's our next question we've completed there, right? We've just done part 1 and we've done part 2. So that's 2005, right? So moving on, I'm going to try to do as much as I can in this session, like I said, right? So in this next part here, part A involves factorization only, right? So you have to be able to look at these questions and know what method of factorization I'm going to be using, right? So I have 5a squared b plus ab squared. So 5a squared b, 5a squared b plus ab squared, right? You're going to factorize that. Now, this is not a quadratic, so I know I'm not using that method. It's not the difference of two squares, so I know I'm not using that method. I don't have 4 terms, so I can't use grouping, right? So therefore, the only method I can really use here is factorizing using the HCF method. So if we look at the numbers, we can't do anything with the numbers. With respect to the a, I can factor out a because the HCF of a squared and a is going to be a. I can also factor out b because the HCF of b and b squared is b. And then this is going to be 5a plus b, right? And that's it. That's my answer. That's my answer when I factorize 5a squared b plus a b squared, right? So that's part 1. That's what we've done here. The next part, part 2, 9k squared minus 1. So this is part 2. And this is 9k squared minus 1. Now, if you look at that carefully, you realize, wait a minute, that looks like the difference of 2 squares to me, right? And when you have the difference of 2 squares, it's going to be a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b multiplied by a minus b, right? This is what we use when we are factorizing the difference of 2 squares. So 9k squared can be written as 3k all squared. I can write 9k squared as that, right? Minus 1 squared. Because 1 is a square number. It can be written as 1 squared. So if you look at what we have here, it resembles this. So therefore, this has to be 3k plus 1 in one bracket and 3k minus 1 in the second bracket. So that's my answer for the second part, right? That's the difference of two squares. The last part now, 2y squared minus 5y plus 2. So the third part, which is 2y squared minus 5y plus 2. Minus 5y plus 2. So like I said, now this particular expression here, right, this is a quadratic. How do I know? I have y squared, right, and I have minus 5y plus 2. So this here is a quadratic, right? That's what it is. It's a quadratic. Now, to factorize a quadratic, like I said, some students can just look at it and they can write down what the factors are. And that's great. So if you do this question in one line, you will still get full marks, right? But there are some students, they have a little challenge factorizing a quadratic. So here's what we're going to do. On the side here, I need to find two numbers whose sum, right, has to be equal to whatever this number is here. So that number is minus 5, right? It's not just 5, but it's minus 5. The sign needs to be taken into account. And we need to find two numbers whose product, right, has to be this 2 multiplied by this 2. So we're looking for two numbers whose product is 4 and whose sum is minus 5. Can you all tell me what are those two numbers? What two numbers am I looking for? Sum is minus 5, product is 4. Alright, so I see you all saying minus 4 and minus 1, right? Not looking right to me. So what I'm seeing here is minus 1 and minus 4. So you have to ask yourself, if I add minus 1 and minus 4, I'm going to get minus 5. So that's true. Minus 1 multiplied by minus 4, I'm going to get positive 4. So that's true. Now, these two numbers here, what I need to do, I need to replace the middle term of my quadratic, right, with those numbers. So I'm going to write 2y squared. So you're replacing the minus 5y. That's what you're doing. Minus, but you're replacing it with this. Minus y minus 4y plus 2. Right? So what you've done, you replace the middle term. So my next step when I'm using this method is I need to factorize by grouping. So you're going to factorize these two terms and these two terms. So 2y squared minus y. The only thing I can pull out there is going to be y, open brackets, 2y minus 1, right? That's what I'm going to factorize. When I factorize that, that's what I'm going to get. Then I need to factorize the minus 4y plus 2. So what I can factor out here, I can pull out 2, open brackets, 2y. Remember, when using this method, your two brackets need to be the same. So I know this has to be minus 1, right? And now I have to decide what sign am I going to use. The only way that can work is if I have a minus sign here. Because minus 2 multiplied by 2y, I'm going to get minus 4y. And minus 2 multiplied by minus 1, I'm going to get positive 2. So my next step here now is going to be 2y minus 1, open brackets, y minus 2. So that's my answer there, right? So like I said, there are some students who can jump from that line straight to this line. And that is fine. If you just do that, you are going to get full marks in the question. So don't worry if you don't have all these things that I have here, right? But I do it this way because there are some students who have difficulties factorizing a quadratic function. All right? So moving on now, the next part, they want us to expand and simplify this, right? So you want to expand and simplify. So this is the reverse process of what we just did, right? We have 2x plus 5. You have 2x plus 5. And you are multiplying that by 3x minus 4. You are multiplying this by 3x minus 4. That's what you're doing, right? Now, if you want to multiply two brackets, right? There's a technique that we essentially use. So the first term in the first bracket has to be multiplied by every single term in the second bracket, right? Now this may seem silly, but use the arrows and that will help you figure out how to simplify this. So 2x multiplied by 3x is going to give me, 2 by 3 is going to give me 6. X multiplied by x is going to give me x squared, right? So that is 2x multiplied by 3x. Then I'm going to say 2x multiplied by minus 4x. That's going to give me minus 8x. So I've just taken the first term in my first bracket and multiplied by everything in the second bracket. Your next step, you need to take the second term in your first bracket and multiply by everything in the second bracket. So 5 multiplied by 3 is going to give me 15x, right? And 5 by minus 4 is going to give me minus 20, right? So try to understand what I just did there. So next thing we're going to do, we have a minus 8x and 15. So this is going to be 6x squared minus 8x plus 15 is going to give me 7x, right? I can't do anything with the minus 20. So this is my answer there. That's all I can do, right? So if we have to multiply two brackets, this is the method which we have to follow, right? You're taking the first term in the first bracket, multiply by every single thing in the second bracket. That's step 1. Then we're going to take the second term in the first bracket and multiply by every single thing in the second bracket, right? So that's my answer for that piece, right? So in this one here now, right, again, we have a worded question, and we know we're going to get a wording question in the exam. CSEC kind of hinted at already. So let's see if we can figure this out here. So let me just copy this question across. Alright, so let's see what's happening here in this question. So we have Adam, Imran, and Shakil. They're playing a card game. So Adam scored X points, alright? Imran scored 3 points fewer than Adam, and Shakil scored twice as many points as Imran, and together they scored 39 points. So write down in terms of X an expression for the number of points scored by Shakil. I'm going to give you 2 minutes and let me see if you can come up with that, that expression. You want to know the number of points scored by Shakil. They've given us some information. You have Adam is X points, Imran is 3 points fewer, and Shakil scored twice as many points as Imran. Right? So they want to know, in terms of X, how many points was scored by Shakil. Right, I'm seeing Victoria Francis has, oh, she removed it, right? Asha put 2 multiplied by x minus 3 in brackets. All right, let's see if that is correct. All right, let's see if that's correct. Now make sure you are answering the question. They didn't ask you to solve anything as yet. So Adam scored X, right? So Adam, right, he scored X. Right? That's what they gave us here. He scored X. Then we have Imran. Now, what they are really testing here to see if you understand when they give you something in words, if you can write it as an expression. So if Imran scored 3 points fewer than Adam, that means that Imran scored less than Adam, right? So therefore, this should be X minus 3. So it shouldn't be 3 minus X, because they are telling us that Imran scored 3 points fewer than Adam. So it's like this. If Adam, let's say he scored 10, right? And Imran scored 3 points fewer than Adam, then it means that Imran would have scored 10 minus 3. It will be 7. So you have to take Adam's score and you need to subtract 3 from it. Next thing we want to work out is Shakil. So Shakil now, right? He scored twice as many points as Imran. But you just work out for Imran here, you got x minus 3. So therefore, if he scored twice as many, what that means is 2 multiplied by x minus 3. That's what that means. So therefore, the answer for part 1, which is Shakil's score, is going to be this. This is what we have here. That is Shakil's score. 2 open brackets x minus 3, right? So it's 2 open brackets x minus 3. That's my answer, right? They didn't ask us to solve anything, but that is my answer. Nothing else they want. That's the answer for part 1. So be careful, right? You don't want to answer too much. Now part 2 now. They said, write, so we're doing this part. Write an equation which may be used to find the value of x. So now we have to use the information in order to solve the value for x. Now the thing is, they told us something about the total score. They said together they scored 39 points. So my total score, right, is equal to 39. They told us that in the question. So let's add up their scores. Adam scored x, right, plus Imran scored x minus 3. So this is x minus 3, right? Plus we have to add Shakil, which is 2 open brackets x minus 3, and that is equal to 39. So this is my equation that I am going to solve for x, right? But here's the thing. They said write an equation which may be used to find the value of x. Notice they didn't say solve this equation, guys, right? They did not say solve. So my answer is actually this. I don't have to solve it because they didn't say solve it. They said write an equation which may be used to find the value of x, right? I mean, if you solve it in the exam, you're not going to lose marks, but that's not what they asked. They just wanted an equation in order, or an equation I can use to solve that. But just for you guys, right, because you need to be able to solve equations like this, I'm going to solve it for you on the side here, right? But that's not part of the answer. So it's x plus x minus 3 plus 2 open brackets x minus 3 is equal to 39, right? Because you could be asked to solve on a question like this. So x plus x minus 3, I'm going to remove these brackets here. So I'm going to say 2 by x and then 2 multiplied by minus 3. So this is going to be plus 2x. 2 by minus 3 is minus 6 is equal to 39. So now we treated all the x's. Now let me just put them together because some students have trouble seeing these things. X plus 2x, right? Minus 3 minus 6. So all I've done on the left hand side, I brought all my x's together and all my numbers together. So x plus x is 2x plus another 2x is going to give me 4x. Minus 3 minus 6 is going to give me minus 9 is equal to 39, right? So therefore 4x is equal to 39 plus 9. So 4x is equal to 39 plus 9, that is 48, and therefore x is equal to 48 over 4, and therefore x is equal to 12. So my answer is 12, but they didn't ask us to solve it, right? Alright, so I realize we have a good bit of students here. We have about 91 students looking at it live right now. That's good. Right, so we've done, that's our third question we've looked at here, right? Oh, I have these slides here and there, right? So I just wanted to remind you guys, so those of you who like looking at my maths channel, I want you to make sure and hit like and please subscribe to the channel, right? Also, I do give online classes, right? CSEC maths, add maths, physics, and chemistry. From August, I'm going to be accepting students who will be entering Form 4, right? I have my normal Form 5 class going on, those who will be writing exams next year, right? So keep that in mind. If anybody needs to contact me regarding classes, you can send me a WhatsApp at this number here, right? If you don't want to send a WhatsApp, you can always send me an email as well, right? But I do give online classes for maths, add maths, chemistry, and physics, right? I personally teach all of those classes, right? Not somebody else. Now, June 2006, right? We have a question here where we want to simplify. So you realize CXC loves to bring questions like this, eh? So we have x minus 3 over 3. So we have, this is part A we're doing here. So x minus 3 divided by 3 minus x minus 2 over 5. X minus 2 over 5, right? So you wanna subtract these two fractions here, right? And I'm telling you that CXC gave you this question because there's a minus sign here and there's a minus sign here. And I know why CXC gave you that. Because many students, when they try to work this question out, they're gonna get it wrong, right? And let me show you where they're gonna make the mistake. So just like we did in the two previous questions, like this, right? You're gonna draw this line here. And what you need to do, you need to find the LCM of 3 and 5, right? That is the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5. So some of you all might be saying, why is he saying find LCM, but I'm not sure even how am I finding the LCM? So in maths, you all need to know what's the difference between a factor and a multiple. A factor is a number that can go into something, right? So let's say you have the number 10. Factors of 10 could be 1, 2, 5, and 10. Those are factors of 10. Numbers that can go into 10, right? Multiples are numbers that can go into something else. So let me show you what I mean. So the multiples, right, of, let's say, 3. The multiples of 3 are the numbers that 3 can go into. It'll be 3, 6, 9, 12, right? You just keep adding 3 all the time. 15, right? 18, and we keep going. Multiples is an infinite set. So you'll go on forever and ever, right? Multiples of 5, right, are, the first one is going to be 5, then 10, then 15. So we keep adding 5 all the time. 20, 25, and we can go until infinity, right? But what we want to find is the LCM, my lowest common multiple. So we're looking at the multiples of 3 and the multiples of 5, and we're finding the lowest multiple that is common to both of them. So if you look at the numbers, you realize the lowest number that is common to them will be 15, right? If you continue going, you'll get more multiples that are common, but we are concerned by the lowest multiple. That's what we're concerned about, the lowest common multiple. So therefore, my LCM here is 15, right? So just like we did before, you're going to say 15, you're going to take this here, and you're going to divide it by this 3 here. So 15 divided by 3, that's going to give me 5. When I get that answer, I'm going to take that answer and I'm going to multiply by my numerator. So that is going to be 5, and you have to be careful, eh? That numerator has x minus 3. So you need to put all of that in a bracket. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to write down your sign. This is a minus sign here, right? So I have to take this 15 and I have to divide it by this 5 here. So 15 divided by 5, I'm going to get 3, right? So 15 divided by 5, you're going to get 3. And I need to take that answer and multiply by my numerator. So this is going to be 3, open brackets, x minus 2. Now, this is where students are going to get a little trouble now. You want to simplify the top part of this here. So 5 multiplied by x is going to give me 5x. 5 multiplied by minus 3, that's going to give me minus 15. So up to this part, students, okay, they're fine, they're getting things correct. But here's where the problems start. You are taking minus 3 and multiply by x, and you're taking minus 3 and multiply by minus 2. Minus 3 by minus x is going to be minus 3x. And then minus 3 by minus 2 is going to give me plus 6, right? Now this is where the students make the mistake. You see this minus sign in front of the minus 3 here? As here. This part we're talking about here. Students, they forget that minus sign. What they do, they take the 3 and multiply by 3x, by the x, sorry. Then they take the 3 and multiply by the minus 2. But they completely forget that they have a minus sign in front of that 3. So try not to make that mistake in the exam. And all of this is over 15. So on top here, you have 5x minus 3x. That's going to give me 2x. And then you have minus 15 plus 6. And that's going to give me minus 9 all over 15. Right? So let me just show you all. Oh no, I won't be able to show you that here. So this is my answer when I simplify this. Right? That's going to be my answer there. right? So I see some of you all working it out, and that's great. You're getting the same thing I'm getting. That's good. Right, so that's my answer for part A, this simplification part, right? Now, part B now. We have two parts here. We want to factorize these two, right? So that's B part 1. So hold on. Right, so B part 1E. So this is B part 1E, right? And let's see what we want to do here. X squared minus 5x. That's what we want to factorize. So x squared minus 5x, right? Now, this here, you see two variables. You have x squared and you have 5x. There's a minus sign. One common confusion is that some students will look at this and they will say it's a difference of two squares. But that's not true, right? This is not the difference of two squares, right? Because 5x is not a square variable. So what I have to use here, I have to use the HCF method. So this is going to be x, open brackets, x minus 5. And that's it. That's all I have to do here for that answer, right? There's nothing more I can do there. So part B now, you want to factorize x squared minus 81. So x squared minus 81, right? Now this to me looks like the difference of two squares. So I can write this as x squared minus 81 can be written as 9 squared, right? So therefore I can write this as x plus 9, right, multiplied by x minus 9. So that's how we factorize this. This is straightforward, right? That's the difference of two squares. And then the fourth part here, you want to simplify a squared plus 4. So that's part 2. A squared plus 4a. So this is part 2 you're working out here, right? So it's a squared plus 4a all over a squared plus 3a minus 4. A squared plus 3a minus 4, right? That's what I want us to simplify. Now, if we look at this, on the top part, we can factorize the top part there. We can factor out a, and this is going to be a plus 4. That's what we can do on the top part, right? Now the bottom part here, this part here, that's a quadratic, right? So you really want to factorize a squared plus 3a minus 4, right? Now guys, I'm not going to just use the sum and product here, right? I'll leave you all to work that out. I'm going to just look at it and factorize it, right? So if I'm looking at it and factorizing it here, I know I must get two brackets, right? If I want to get a squared, that tells me that a has to be here and a has to be here. So some of you all can look at it and factorize it. That's what I'm doing here. I'm looking at it and factorizing it, right? So you want to get, if I put a 4 here and a 1 here, right? So let's see, 4a, if I put plus here and a minus, 4a minus 3. Right, so when I factorize this, a squared plus 3a minus 4, that's what I'm going to get. So you all can use the sum product method if you want, but that's going to be the answer. So on the bottom here, I'm going to replace that with a plus 4, and I'm going to put a minus 1 here. But then you realize, wait a minute, I have a plus 4 here and a plus 4 here. So things are going to cancel. So my final answer is simply going to be a over a minus 1. All right? So part C now. Let's copy this instead of me writing this out here. All right. So just a reminder, guys, for those of you who are attending the free sessions, today's what? Today's Tuesday. So the math sessions are on a Tuesday. All right. And if I do have time during the week or during the daytime, I may just go live whenever I feel like it, right? So the only way to know when I go live is to subscribe. So you'll automatically get a message saying that I've gone live. Tomorrow is Wednesday. So tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I'll be doing some physics for you guys, right? So CSEC physics tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And well, today was the first, right? So next week, Monday at 3 o'clock, I'll be doing chemistry, right? So today, on the Tuesdays, it'll be maths. Now, let's look at this question here. We have 2 cassettes and 3 CDs. They cost $175, while 4 cassettes and 1 CD, right, cost $125. Given that X represents, given that 1 cassette costs X dollars and 1 CD costs Y dollars, write 2 equations to. All right, so what they've done here, they've given us information for us to be able to come up with a simultaneous equation, right? That's what it is. So in part 1, they want 2 equations. So you said 2 cassettes and 3 CDs, right? Now the cassette is costing X dollars and the CD is costing Y dollars. So if it's 2 cassettes, it's going to be 2X, right? Plus the cost of 3 CDs, which will be 3Y, right? And that cost is $175. So this is my first equation. The question said write 2 equations. I've just written one using the information that they've given to us. The second part now, they said while 4 cassettes and 1 CD costs $125. So it's going to be 4X, right? That's 4 cassettes plus 1 CD. So plus 1 CD. So that's plus Y is equal to $125, right? So these are my 2 equations here. So this is equation 1 and this here is equation 2, right? So that's the answer for part 1. For part 2 now, they said calculate the cost of 1 cassette, right? Now make sure you know what they're asking us here. The cost of 1 cassette, right, is actually X. So what they want us to work out, they want us to work out X in this particular question. Now, CXC doesn't force you to use a particular method in order to solve a pair of simultaneous equations, right? There are basically 4 different methods I can use to solve a simultaneous equation. I can use substitution, I can use elimination, I can use, I can draw a graph and find where the 2 graphs intersect, and that'll be my solution. I can also use the matrix method in order to solve a pair of simultaneous equations. So there are different methods. So in this particular question, I would stick to one of 2. I would either use substitution or elimination, right? So they haven't forced us as to what method we can use, but you can decide what you want, right? Now, if this is a question 2, you're not going to use the matrix method, right? If this is question 2, we're going to use either elimination or substitution, right? Now, what I would do here, in this particular case here, if you look at the second equation, you can make, from this equation here, right? I can make Y the subject of the formula. So from equation 2, I can see that Y is equal to 125 minus 4x, right? I don't know if you all seen that. From equation 2, I can say that Y is equal to 125 minus 4x, right? So my next thing that I'm going to do now, I'm going to take that equation, so I'm going to substitute, right? So let's call this equation 3 now. So I'm going to substitute equation 3, right, into my first equation, right? That's what I'm going to do. So this here, I'm going to take that and I'm going to substitute that into this. If I do that, I'll be able to solve for x, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say 2x plus 3y. But the thing is, you just worked out a variable for y here, an expression for y, right? So y is 125 minus 4x. So this is going to be 125 minus 4x. And that is going to be equal to 175, right? So if I solve this equation here, I'm going to automatically figure out what x is, right? So here's what we're going to do. You're going to leave this 2x. I can't do anything with it, right? So to remove the brackets, I need to say 3 multiplied by 125. So 3 by 125, that's going to give me 375. So this here is plus 375, right? And then I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to multiply by this 4x. 3 by minus 4x is going to give me minus 12x is equal to 175, guys. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to combine our x's. So 2 minus 12x is going to give me minus 10x, right? So this here is going to be minus 10x. That 375, I'm going to carry it on the right hand side. So this is going to become 175 minus 375. So therefore minus 10x is equal to 175 minus 375. You're going to get minus 200. So this here is minus 200. So therefore x is equal to minus 200 divided by minus 10. And therefore x is going to be equal to, how much is that? 20. So x is going to be equal to 20, right? So therefore, remember this cost we're talking about. So x is actually equal to $20, right? And that's my answer there. Right, so oh yeah, I see somebody saying multitask between this and bio lessons, right? So what you all can do, guys, so because it's being streamed live, right, it's good, it's recording, it's being recorded, right? Plus I'm recording it locally as well, right? So if you can't stay for the full class, right, it's being recorded, so you can access it after, right? So don't worry about that. So my answer is x equal 20. So I see some of you all getting that. That's great. So let's jump to our next question. Right, so this is 2007, right? So we've done a few questions already within the hour, which is good. So June 2007 here now. So we have A star B is equal to AB minus B over A, right? So if you all don't know what this is or you've never seen this, this is what you call binary operations, right? It's called binary operations. So let's show you how to do a binary operation. So it's called a binary operation because we have two variables. We have A and you have B, right? Those are my two variables, right? And they're telling us, they're calling it A star B. Now I want you all to remember the symbol that they use for the operation is not necessarily a star. Right? So this could be anything. This could be a box. It could be a dot. It could be something looking like this, right? It could be a heart shape. It could be anything, right? We don't care what that symbol is. So just keep that in mind. CSEC can bring any symbol for you, right? What is important to us is what the operation does, right? The operation is saying A multiplied by B minus B over A. That's what the operation is. So for part one, let's write down what the operation is first of all. So A star B is equal to AB minus B over A. That's my operation, right? So 4 star 8, right? That's what they want us to work out. 4 star 8. We're going to say A multiplied by B because A is 4 and B is 8, right? That's what we need to recognize. A is 4 and B is 8. So AB is the same as saying 4, right? Multiplied by 8 minus B over A. So it's going to be 8 divided by 4. So 8 by 4 is 32. And then 8 divided by 4 is going to give me 2. So therefore my answer is 30. Right? So that's the answer for part 1. 4 star 8 is equal to 30. Part 2 now, they want us to work out 2 star open brackets 4 star 8, right? Now here's the thing. When you have binary operation questions or questions in general, always look back at the answer you just worked out because it might be important to us. If you look carefully, 4 star 8, you just worked out that. You just worked out what that is here. So this is actually 2 star 30, right? Because you just worked out in part 1 what is 4 star 8. Sorry about that, guys. Right? So now we're going to use the same thing that we just used there. Remember the operation is A star B is AB. So we're going to say 2 multiplied by 30, right? Minus, and it's going to be B divided by A. So that's 30 divided by 2. So 2 by 30 is going to give me 60. Minus 30 divided by 2 is going to give me 15. So 60 minus 15 is going to give me 45, right? So that's my answer for part 2. So that is just part A alone, right? Let's look at part B now. Alright, so this part here now, simplify given your answer in simplest form. So here's what we're trying to work out. You're trying to work out 5p over 3q, and by the way, this is not an addition sign, it's a division sign, right? Divided by 4p squared over q. That's what we're trying to work out. So you're trying to divide two fractions here. So this is 5p over 3q. Now when you're dividing by a fraction, you need to change the sign to multiply, and you must invert, right? That's how we do division of when you're dividing by a fraction. So this is going to be q over 4p squared, right? And then we're going to try to simplify this, right? Now on top, we're going to have 5pq. At the bottom, you're going to have 3 by 4 is 12, right? And q by p squared is simply going to be written as p squared q. Now if you put that as your answer, right, you're going to lose some marks because you haven't simplified the answers yet, right? That could simplify further, right? Now this p can go into p squared p times, right? And this q can, sorry, did I miss out something? No, I did, right? So yeah, so this q can cancel with this q. So what I'll end up with is 5 over 12p, right? 5 over 12p, right? Now there are some rules for indices that you guys need to learn off, right? So make sure you know what the rules are. So there are some rules that you need to be familiar with, right? So if you check, I have a video concerning these things. So the first rule is if I'm multiplying, right? A to the power m multiplied by a to the power n is going to be equal to a to the power m plus n. What that means is that if I have something like, let's say x squared multiplied by x to the power 5, right? You're going to have to add the indices. So this is going to be 2 plus 5. So this is going to be equal to x to the power 7. That's what this rule is telling me, right? If I have something like this, a to the power m divided by a to the power n, I need to subtract my indices. So this is going to be a to the power m minus n. So for example, right, if I have y to the power 7 divided by y cubed, then it's going to be y to the power 7 minus 3, which is going to give me y to the power 4, right? That's my second rule for indices. My third rule, if I have something like this, a to the power m, all being raised to the power n, it's going to be a to the power m multiplied by n. For example, if I have x to the power 4, right, and I'm squaring, let's say I want to square this, right, that answer here is going to be x to the power 4 multiplied by 2, which is x to the power 8. A common mistake, especially with this one, students will say 4 plus 2 and get 6, x to the power 6, which is incorrect, right? And the next one that you need to be familiar with is anything to the power 0 is equal to 1, right? We have two others that you need to be familiar with as well, right? And that is if I have, let's say x to the power half, I can write that as the square root of x, right? So this is one you need to be familiar with. And we also have another one, which is x to the power minus n. I can write that as 1 over x to the power n, right? So I do have, I think when I did the crash course in January, I spoke about this. So you all can go back to that video if you want to, all right? So that's part B we just worked out. Part C now, what is this looking like here? So this part C looking like a simultaneous equation again, but let's read it first. All right, so a stadium has two sections, section A and section B, right? So the tickets in section A cost $8 and the tickets for section B cost B dollars. Johanna paid $105 for 5 section A tickets and 3 section B tickets, right? So they're giving us some information here that we could probably use to come up with two equations. They said write two equations in A to represent the information. So that's what I'm going to do. So in part 1, let's work that out here. So you have 5 section A tickets, so that's going to be 5 section A tickets, plus 3 section B tickets, is equal to 105, right? So that's the cost for those tickets, $105. So that's one equation, so we're going to call that equation 1, right? Then you have Raya, I don't know how you pronounce it, right? Paid $63 for 4 section A tickets, so 4A plus 1 section B ticket. So that's plus B is equal to, and that's $63. $63. So that's my second equation, right? So again, guys, it is up to you what you want to do. So here's what I'm going to do. You can use either substitution or elimination in order to work out part B. So what I'm going to do, I am going to, since the last question we did substitution, I'm going to use elimination because some students, they have trouble with elimination, right? So I'm going to take my second equation, that's this equation here, I'm going to multiply by 3 so that this here is going to become 3b, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to take my second equation, so equation 2, and I'm going to multiply that by 3. So what I'm going to get here is 12a, right, plus 3b is equal to 63 multiplied by 3, right? And that's 189. So I'm trying to work this question a different way. So you see an alternative way of working this, right? And I'm going to call this equation 3. That's now my third equation, right? And my first equation is this. 5a plus 3b is equal to 105, right? And this is my equation 1. Now, if I want to eliminate the b, should I add these two equations or should I subtract them? Right? That's one of the trouble or one of the things that gives students trouble. Should I add or should I subtract in order to eliminate b? Alright, so I see somebody say subtract. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to subtract in order to eliminate. So what we're going to say equation, my third equation, minus, right, equation 1. So that's what I'm going to do. So 12a minus 5a is going to give me 7a, and 3b minus 3b, so the b's disappear. So this method is called elimination, guys. And 189 minus 105, so 189 minus 105, that's going to give me 84, right? So therefore a is equal to 84 divided by 7, right? So that's going to give me 12. So therefore a is equal to 12. So look at that. We already worked out the cost for the tickets in section A, right? And this method is called elimination here. So I worked out a. So since I know what a is, I can take this value of a and plug it into any one of the equations I want. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put, so I'm going to say, I'm going to substitute a is equal to 12, right, into, I'm going to choose any equation. Let's go with equation 1 if I want, right? Doesn't matter which equation, you're going to get the same answer. So 5 multiplied by a, which is 12, plus 3b is equal to 105, right? This is the equation I'm using here. I'm using the first equation, equation 1. So 12 fives are 60 plus 3b, right, is equal to 105. So therefore 3b is equal to 105, right, minus 60. So therefore 3b is equal to, let's see, 105 minus 60 is going to give me 45. So therefore b is equal to 45 over 3. And that's going to give me 15. So therefore b is equal to 15, right? So in terms of cost, right, A is equal to $12, right? And B is equal to $15, right? So that's my answer here. I've just solved for the cost of the two tickets, A and B, using the process of elimination. All right, so I hope you all doing okay here. So let's move on, right? I'll try to cover as much questions as I can. So this is another, so this is June 2008, right? CSEC kind of said, hey, you might be getting something like this, right? It's called substitution, right? So let's make sure we can answer a question like that. So in your syllabus, it states that you have to be able to evaluate expressions, right, by substituting values for variables, right? All that means is, here what? They're telling us that A is 2, B is minus 1, and C is 3. And the first part, they want us to work out what is that. So in part 1, they want you to work out A multiplied by B plus C, right? So A, you know what A is? A is 2. Multiplied by B plus C, B is minus 1 plus C, which is 3. So therefore, can't do anything with the 2, but you need to simplify the bracket. Minus 1 plus 3 is going to give me 2. So 2 by 2, they're going to give me 4 as my answer. So that's my answer for part 1. All I've done is substituted for what A is, what B is, and what C is into this expression here. That's all I've done, right? Nothing fancy. That's it. Part 2 now, you want to work out this one here. Now this one looking like it's a little long, right? So it's 4b squared minus 2ac all over a plus b plus c. That's what we're trying to work out. Now, to work that out here, what we're going to do, we're going to replace the a, b, and c with actual numbers. So, you have to be careful. It's 4 multiplied by b squared. So, b is minus 1. And you're going to square that. Minus 2 multiplied by a, which is an x2, multiplied by c, which is 3, all over a plus b plus c, which is 2, plus b is minus 1, plus 3. So here what? Before I work this out here, see if you can quickly work that out for me. So Zari is saying minus 4. No, the answer is actually 4 for part 1, not minus 4. So the reason why I let you all try to work out the second one, right? I know people are going to make mistakes, right? You have to be very, very careful when you're doing these questions. right? So I've seen some of you are getting -2. Let's see if I'm getting that same thing, right? So just be careful how you're working it out. So -1 squared is going to give me +1. So therefore on top here, this is just going to be 4, right? Minus 2 by 2 is 4, and 4 multiplied by 3 will give me 12, right? That's what we have on top. And then at the bottom now, you have 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is actually going to give me 1, right? Plus 3, which is going, so this is going to be 1 plus 3 at the bottom, right? So 4 minus 12 is going to give me -8, and then 1 plus 3 is going to give me 4, -8 divided by 4 is going to give me -2, right? So I think I saw a lot of you all got -2. All right, cool. So that's correct. So let's move on. Next part here, part B. You want to change these into algebraic expressions. So part 1 here, right? So let me just copy, hold on. Alright, so you want to change these statements into algebraic expressions, right? Now you all need to be able to do this because you're going to get a question like this for sure, right? Based on what they told us. 4 times the sum of x plus 5. What is that expression, right? So part 1, 4 times, right? That means 4 multiplied. That's what that means. 4 times means 4 multiplied. The sum of x plus 5, x and 5, sorry, is going to be this, x plus 5. So 4 times the sum of x plus 5 is going to be 4 multiplied by x plus 5. That's what that means, right? So that's my answer for part 1. For part 2 now, they said 16 larger than the product AB. You all feel you can tell me the answer for part 2? So take a look at part 2. 16 larger than the product of A and B. Alright, what about people who are actually in my online, my live, my Form 5 class, right? I'm not seeing people from my class answering anything. Or maybe you did. I think I saw Sadiq answer at some point there. Right, so Liana is in my class, right? So she's saying 16 multiplied by A. Alright, so let's see. So they said 16 larger than the product AB. So the product AB means A multiplied by B, which is that. Now when they say 16 larger, right, all they mean is 16 plus AB, you know. That's the answer. 16 larger means it's 16 more than, right? So it's 16 plus AB. That's what the answer is. Right? Did anybody have that? Let me see. I see a lot of you all take 16 and multiply, right? That's not what it is. You have to be, it's going to be 16 plus. All right, so let's look at this next one here now. So in part C, they want us to, so this part C, they want us to solve this equation. 15 minus 4x is equal to 2, open brackets, 3x plus 1, right? That's what they want us to solve. So we need to get rid of that bracket. This is going to cause us some trouble, so we need to remove that bracket here on the right-hand side. So 15 minus 4x is equal to 2 multiplied by 3x is going to give me 6x, and then 2 multiplied by 1 is going to give me plus 2, right? So all I'm going to do, I'm going to carry all the x's to one side. So I'm going to carry everything to the left hand side here. So minus 4x minus 6x is equal to 2 minus 15, right? So minus 4x minus 6x is going to give me minus 10x, and then 2 minus 15 is going to give me minus 13. So therefore x is going to be equal to minus 13 over minus 10, and therefore x is simply equal to, you can leave your answers 13 over 10, but let me just double check that answer, make sure that's correct. Hope I didn't make a mistake. I expected the answer to work out to a nice flush answer. 3 to the 6 plus this, minus 4 minus 6, again minus 10, 2 minus, yeah. I don't know if you all seen something different, but I got the same thing, right? 13 over 10. Right? So that's the answer for part C. Part D now. So D part 1, you have 2 factorization to complete. That is 6a squared b cubed plus 12a to the power 4b. Right? So for this particular one here, we're going to factorize using the HCF method. So you look at the numbers first. You have 6 and you have 12. The highest common factor for 6 and 12 will be 6. Then you have a squared and you have a fourth. The highest common factor here is going to be a squared. Then we have b cubed and b. Highest common factor here is going to be b. Open brackets. So all you need to do is to put a b squared here plus 2a squared. And that's it. That's my answer for part 1. Right? We just use the HCF method in order to solve that. Second part. You have 2m squared plus 9m minus 5, right? So if you look at that, you realize, wait a minute, that's a quadratic, right? So I'm looking to get two numbers whose sum, so we're looking for two numbers whose sum is equal to 9 and whose product, right, is going to be 2 multiplied by minus 5, right, which is minus 10. So I'm looking for two numbers whose sum is 9 and whose product is 10. What are those two numbers? So tell me, what two numbers am I looking for here? The sum has to be 9 and the product has to be minus 10. Alright, so I see some of you all factorize it already, right? So you got to be careful how you're choosing the numbers, right? So I see in minus 1 and 10, I see in 10 and minus 1. Alright, so it's the same thing. So the two numbers that I'm looking for here, right, it'll be minus 1 and 10. Because minus 1 plus 10, when I add them, I'm going to get 9. And minus 1 multiplied by 10, I'm going to get minus 10. So I need to take these two numbers and replace my middle two. So this is going to be 2m squared minus m plus 10m minus 5, right? Then we're going to factorize by grouping. So you're factorizing these two, factorize these two. So this is going to be m, open brackets, 2m minus 1, right? And across here it's going to be, I could pull out 5. And this is going to be 2m minus 1 again, right? Remember, this is factorizing by grouping. The two brackets will be the same. But you have to decide what sign you're going to put here. So the sign that I'm going to put here has to be a plus sign. So therefore my final answer is going to be 2m minus 1 multiplied by m plus 5, right? That's what we're going to put here. 2m minus 1, m plus 5. I think I saw some of you all got that. Yeah. All right, so Kyle got that. Kyle is in our class. Good job. So moving on. So that is, right, so that's this part here, right? All right, this is just a reminder slide. So those of you who haven't hit like and subscribe, please do that now, right, on the YouTube channel, right? And like I said, I do give online maths, add maths, phys and chem, right? And you can contact me at this number here. Send me a WhatsApp. If I don't answer, send me a WhatsApp, right? June 2008. So here's what we want to do. We want to simplify, right, 3a minus 1 squared. So we have 3a minus 1 squared, right? 3a minus 1 squared is the same as saying 3a minus 1 multiplied by 3a minus 1. That's what it means. So this looks like a question we did previously, right? You're going to take your first term in your first bracket and multiply by my first term in the second bracket. And then I'm going to do this. First term by the second term. So basically every variable in the first bracket has to be multiplied by every variable in the second bracket. So this is going to be 3a by 3a is going to give me 9a squared. And then 3a by minus 1 is going to give me minus 3a. Then you're going to say minus 1 by 3a is going to give me minus 3a. And then minus 1 by minus 1 is going to give me positive 1. So this is going to give me 9a squared minus 3a is going to give me minus 6a plus 1. So that's my answer there when I simplify that, right? So this is what? This is part A, right? So this is part A here. For part B now, right? So within recent times, CSEC has been bringing a lot of questions on changing the subject of the formula. So you all need to be able to know how to do a question like this. So you have Q is equal to 5 over 3 plus P. So this part B. Q is equal to 5 over 3 plus P. Q is equal to 5, right? And you want to make P the subject of the formula. What that means is I want to rearrange this equation so that it becomes P equal to something. That's what you're going to do, right? And a lot of the times when students see something like this, they're not sure what to do. So what we do, we can write Q as Q over 1, because any variable divided by 1, you don't change the variable. The answer is the same. Is equal to 5 over 3 plus P, right? At this stage here, you have a fraction equal to an x fraction. So all we do, we're going to cross multiply. We're going to say Q multiplied by 3 plus P, right, is equal to 5 multiplied by 1, which is 5. Then I'm going to remove these brackets here. So Q by 3 is going to give me 3Q plus PQ, right, is equal to 5. Now keep in mind what you're trying to do here. You're trying to do this. Trying to get an equation that says P is equal to something. So therefore PQ is equal to 5 minus 3Q. So therefore P is equal to 5 minus 3Q over Q. And that's my answer. 3 marks for doing this, right? So that's my answer for part B, right? So we made P the subject of the formula. Next part here, we have some factorization to do, and the last one is a simultaneous equation, right? So let's see. All right, so let's look at part C, part 1, right? So we have 3mn minus 6n squared, right? And you want to factorize that. Now that is not the difference of two squares, by the way. That's not the difference of two squares. But we might be able to use the HCF method. So we have 3 and 6. So the HCF here is 3. You don't have an m that is common to both of them, but you do have an n that is common to both of them. So you can pull out n. Open brackets. It's going to be m minus 2 multiplied by an n here. So this here, that's it. That's all I can do, right? That's all I can do to factorize that. So that's part 1. For part 2 now, we have 25 p squared minus q squared. Now if I look at that, that to me looks like the difference of two squares. I can write this as 5p squared minus q squared. So I gave you all this, you all should know this by now. A squared minus b squared can be written as a plus b multiplied by a minus b, right? So this is going to be 5p plus q, right, multiplied by 5p minus q, right? That's essentially what it is. So that's why I factorize the second equation. Alright, so what are we going to do here now? We want to solve a pair of simultaneous equations, right? Now, I'm kind of glad we got this question because I want to show you how to do a question like this using elimination, right? So we did, the first one we did was substitution, and then the second one we did was elimination. I'm going to solve this one using elimination again, right? So I'm going to call this equation 1. So when you have these kinds of questions, the first thing you need to do is to label your equations, please. Right? So by equation 1 and equation 2. Now, I'm going to use elimination, but when you look at it, you realize, wait a minute. I can't eliminate x just by looking at the equations because I have 3x here and I have 2x here. So I can't just eliminate x. I have minus 2y and I have plus 3y. So I can't just eliminate those things just like that. Right? So here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to take, let's see, I want to eliminate y, right? I'm going to eliminate y. I want to eliminate y, right? That's what I want to do. So let me show you how we're going to do that. We're going to say, take my equation 1, right? And I'm going to multiply equation 1 by 3. So therefore, I'm going to get 9x minus 6x, which is equal to, what is 19 by 3? 19 multiplied by 3, I'm going to get 57. So this here is going to be 57. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take equation 2, my second equation, and I'm going to multiply by 2. So this is going to give me 4x, right? And 3 multiplied by 2 is going to give me 6x, right? And that's going to give me 4 2s 8. So hold on, I said something slightly wrong here, right? I want to eliminate x. Am I eliminating x? Let me make sure. Alright, hold on. I made a mistake here. This is y. This is supposed to be y here, and this is supposed to be y here. And this is correct. I am eliminating y. Sorry about that, right? So now I have two new equations. So I'm going to call this equation 3, and I'm going to call this equation 4, right? Now I want to eliminate y. So my question to you guys, am I going to add equation 3 and 4, or am I going to subtract equation 3 and 4? This is a mistake that some students make. Right? So take a look at the chart, and I want to know, am I going to subtract or am I going to add the two equations in order to eliminate y? Right, so I see some of you all saying add, some of you all saying subtract, and some of you all worked out the answer already, right? Sadiq worked it out already. Alright, so that's why I wanted to show you this one here. So in the third equation, that's this one here, you have a minus 6. And in this equation here, you have a plus 6, right? Now this, let me show you what happens, right? So those of you who said to subtract, this is what's going to happen. Minus 6y minus an x 6y is going to give me minus 12y. So therefore I have not eliminated y at all. But if I do this, if I say minus 6y plus 6y, I'm going to get 0. So therefore this one is correct. I need to add the two equations, not subtract them. Because if you subtract the equations, you're going to get this. You're going to get minus 12y. Therefore, you have not eliminated any y's, right? So I'm going to I'm going to add the two equations. So 9x plus 4x. So we're going to say add, right? Equation 3 plus equation 4. We're going to add the two equations. So 9 and 4 is 13x, right? Minus 6y. Plus 6y is going to give me 0, and then 57 plus 8 is going to give me 65, right? So therefore x is going to be 65 divided by 13, and therefore x is going to be equal to 5, right? So that's my answer. I've solved for x here. I've gotten what x is supposed to be, which is 5. Now we're going to take that 5 and you're going to plug this 5 into any one of your 4 equations. Totally up to you, right? So I will plug it into, let's say, equation 2. So I'm going to substitute x equal to 5 into, let's say, equation 2, right? So therefore, it's going to be 2 multiplied by x, which is 5, plus 3y is equal to 4. So 5 2s are 10 plus 3y is equal to 4. So 3y is equal to 4 minus 10. So therefore 3y is equal to minus 6. Y is equal to minus 6 over 3. And therefore y is equal to minus 2. Right? So I think I saw some of you all got that. 5 and minus 2. Right? So Kyle is in our class 2. He got that. Good. Right? So be careful with these questions. When you're doing elimination, you have to be careful that you choose the correct thing. Right? All right, so just on that, let's see 443. All right, so I'm going to jump to a question here, right? I'm going to jump to 2011 here, right? Hold on. All right, so the first part here, we want to write as a single fraction, right? So this is June 2011 here. All right, so for my students, most of the recent papers, we've done those papers in class, right? Right, so you want to write this as a single fraction in its lowest terms. So in order to do that, you're going to draw a line here and you're going to find the LCM of 3 and 4. To find the LCM of 3 and 4, that's actually 12, right? Then I'm going to say 12 divided by 3 is going to give me 4. I'm going to take that number and I'm going to multiply it by this, right? So that's going to be 4 multiplied by x minus 2. Right? Put back your sign here. It's a positive sign. Then we're going to say 12 divided by 4. Right? That is this 12 here divided by this 4. That's what we do it. That's going to give me 3. Then I'm going to take that 3 and I'm going to multiply it by x plus 1. So this is going to be 3 open brackets x plus 1. Right? So we're going to remove the brackets. So 4 multiplied by x is going to give me 4x. Right? 4 multiplied by minus 2 is going to give me minus 8. Plus 3 multiplied by x is going to give me plus 3x. And then plus 3 by plus 1 is going to give me plus 3. And all of that is over 12. Right? So 4x plus 3x is going to give me 7x. Minus 8 plus 3 is going to give me minus 5. and all of that is over 12. So we've seen several questions like this in the paper so far, right? So that is part A. The next one, part B, is a binary operation, right? Part B is a binary operation. So let's see. Right, so they give us the binary operation. It is A star B is equal to A plus B squared minus 2AB, right? So you want to work out 3 star 4. So 3 star 4, that means that A is 3 and B is 4, right? That's what that means for us. So A plus B. So this is going to be 3 plus 4 squared minus 2 multiplied by A, which is 3, multiplied by 4. So this is going to be 4 and 3 is 7. So this is 7 squared minus 2 3s are 6, 4s are 24. So 7 squared is 49. So it's 49 minus 24. 9 take away 4 is 5. So this is 25, right? So that's my answer there for that one. Next thing we want to do, we have some factorization to do. So first one, part 1. We want to factorize xy cube plus x squared y, right? We're going to use the ATF method for this. The highest common factor for x and x squared is going to be x. And the highest common factor for y cube and y is going to be y. Open brackets, this should be a y squared plus x, and that's it. For part 2, you have 4 terms. So therefore, just by looking at it, you realize, wait a minute, this has to be factorizing by grouping, right? So 2n h minus 3mk plus 2nk. So we're going to factorize this and factorize this. So the first 2 terms, you can factor out 2 and h, and then this is going to be m minus n. Then if you factorize the next 2 terms, you can factor out, what can we factor out? K. Oh wait, sorry, I just saw a slight mistake I have here, right? This should be a 3. I was wondering if something was wrong there. Yeah, this should be a 3. So therefore, I can pull out 3 and k, and then this is going to be m minus n. Remember, the brackets need to be the same when you're factorizing by grouping. So in order to make that happen, this has to be a minus sign here. That has to be a minus sign. So therefore, my answer is going to be m minus n in one bracket, and this is going to be 2h minus 3k. So that's my answer there when I factorize that piece, right? And the last part now, right, that has to do with variation. Right. So they said y varies directly as x, and they want us to calculate the value of a and b. So this is what we call a variation question. So when they say y varies directly as x, right, what that means is this: y is proportional to x. That's what that means. So you all have to be able to translate between words and an expression, first of all. Now I can't do anything with this proportional sign. But every time you replace a proportional sign, you're going to put an equal sign, and you must introduce a constant, right? So those of you who are in my class, we've covered this. We looked at different types of variation, right? So this is direct variation. Y varies directly as x. So y is proportional to x. So if you replace a proportional sign, you have to put a k and you have to put an equal sign. So this is what we're working with. Now, you have to use information from the table in order to figure out what is k to begin with, right? According to what we have here, we can see that when x is equal to 2, That's from the table. We're looking at this here. When x is equal to 2, y is equal to 12. Right? We can see that. So therefore, we can say that 12, I'm substituting those values into this equation here. So 12 is equal to k multiplied by 2. So therefore, k is equal to 12 over 2, and therefore k is equal to 6. So therefore, I know exactly what my equation is now. My equation is this. Y is equal to 6x. So this is what I'm going to use to figure out what is A and what is B. So the next step now, I'm going to use this here in order to figure out what A is. So according to that table there, when x is equal to 5, y is equal to A, right? So therefore, we can say that A is equal to 6 multiplied by x, which is 5. So therefore, A is equal to 30. So if you're wondering where did I substitute that, I substituted into this equation that I have here, right? So we figured out A is 30. Next thing we need to do, we need to look at this piece of information here, which says that when, right? Let me write this higher up because I know the camera is going to block you all. So we're going to say when x is equal to b, right? Y is equal to 48, right? So we're going to substitute that into this equation here that we already worked out. So y, which is 48, so 48 is equal to 6 multiplied by b. So therefore b is equal to 48 divided by 6. So therefore b is equal to 8. So look, I've worked out A and I've worked out B. So this is what we call a variation question, right? Right, so I'm going to do one more question for you guys, right, and I'll wrap up there. So this is June 2012, right? So let's see if we can do this quickly. So we have 3 different kinds of factorization here to do. So let's look at part 1. So let me do part 1 up here. Oh, no matter. Part 1 here, right? So you want to work out 2x cubed y plus 6x squared y squared, right? So you have 2 and 6, so I can factor out 2, right? You have x cubed and x squared, so you can factor out x squared. You have y and y squared, so you can factor out y, right? So therefore, this is going to be x plus 3y, right? So that's my answer there for that one. That's the difference, 2 squares. For part 2, we have 9x squared minus 4. So I can write this as a difference of 2 squares. This is going to be 3x squared minus 2 squared. So I can write this as 3x plus 2 in one bracket, 3x minus 2 in my second bracket. Right? So part 2 is the difference of 2 squares. The third part, we have 4x squared plus 8xy minus xy minus 2y squared. Right? So this here is, you have 4 terms, so therefore we factorize it by grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2 terms. So I can pull out 4, x, open brackets, x plus 2y, right? Then on the other side, the only thing that I have common there is y. So this is going to be y, and this is going to be an x, and this is going to be, remember the 2 brackets need to be the same, so this is plus 2y, right? Now the only way that can happen is if this is a minus sign here. So therefore, my final answer is going to be x plus 2y in one bracket, and this is going to be 4x minus y in the second brackets. Right? So that's how we factorize all 3 of these guys here. So that is part E. Right, the next part here. All right, so this is the next kind of equation that you could be given in the exam to solve, right? And a lot of students, they have serious problems with this, right? Now, what I typically tell my students to do whenever you have questions like these, right? You can write every single thing as a fraction. So this is 2x minus 3 over 3. It's already as a fraction. Plus 5 minus x over 2. That's already as a fraction. But it's 3. I'm going to write this as 3 over 1. Right? So now every term is a fraction. Now I have 3 here. I have 2 here. And I have 1 here. What I do, I find the LCM of 3, 2, and 1. The LCM in this case here is 6. Right? So my LCM is actually equal to 6. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply every single term by 6, right? Because I don't like to work in fractions and you shouldn't either, right? So multiply every single term by 6. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say 6 multiplied by 2x minus 3 over 3, right? So that's my first term I've multiplied by 6. Plus, I'm going to say 6 multiplied by, hold on, I'm going to put 6 over 1 here because some students, I remember students having trouble to understand that, right? So I'm going to multiply this by 6 over 1 multiplied by 5 minus x over 2 is equal to 6 over 1 multiplied by 3 over 1, right? Now, things are going to start to simplify for us here. This 3 can go into the 6 2 times. So this is going to be 2 open brackets 2x minus 3 plus this 2 can go into this 3 times. So therefore this is going to be 3 open brackets 5 minus x, right? And then 6 by 3 is going to give me 18. So now this equation here looks like something that I can work out now, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to say 2 multiplied by 2x, which is going to give me 4x. 2 multiplied by minus 3 is going to give me minus 6. Then I need to remove this brackets. 3 by 5 is going to give me plus 15. And then 3 by minus x is going to give me minus 3x is equal to 18. So keep all your x's on one side and throw all your numbers on the right hand side, sorry. So we have 4x minus 3x is equal to 18. When you carry the minus 6 on the side, it's going to become plus 6. And you're going to have to minus 15 on the side. 4x minus 3x is going to give me x. And therefore 18 plus 6 is 24 minus 15. And I'm going to get 9 as my answer. Right? I'm getting 9 as my answer. So this is how I typically teach how to solve an equation like this. Right? You find the LCM and then you multiply every single term by the LCM. Right? Right, so that's part B here, right? So 3 marks for that. And then the last part now, the last part is a simultaneous equation again. So I'm going to do this one. Again, I'm going to use elimination to do this one, right? Because again, students have trouble with elimination. So I'm going to call that equation 1. I'm going to call this equation 2. Right? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to eliminate y again. So I'm going to eliminate y. Right? So in order to do that, I need to take equation 1. Right? And I'm going to multiply that by 5. So therefore, this is going to become 15x minus 10y is equal to 50, right? And this here is going to be called equation 3 now. I'm going to take equation 2 and I'm going to multiply by 2. And this is going to give me 4x plus 10y is equal to 26. and that's going to be equation 4. So this is my two equations that I'm going to play around with now. So if I want to eliminate y, I must add the two equations. So this is just like the question we did previously. Some students have trouble understanding when to add or to subtract, right? If the signs are different, we need to add them. You have minus 10y in the first equation and you have plus 10y in the second equation. Therefore, if you want to eliminate y, we must add the two equations, right? So we're going to say equation 3 plus equation 4, right? So 15 plus 4 is going to give me 19x, right? The minus 10y plus 10y is going to give me 0. And this here is going to give me 50 plus 26 is 76. So therefore, x is equal to 76 over 19. So therefore, x is equal to, I'm going to get x is equal to 4. So I've solved for x already. X is equal to 4. Next thing I need to do, I need to take that and substitute it into any one of the equations I want to use. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to substitute into equation, let's say 2. So substitute x equal to 4, right, into equation 2. So what I'm going to get here is 2x plus, hold on, let's plug in the value one time. It's 2x, right? So it's going to be 2 by 4 plus 5y is equal to 13. So that's 4 2s are 8 plus 5y is equal to 13. So 5y is equal to 13 minus 8, right? And that's going to give me 5. So 5y is equal to 5. So y is equal to 5 over 5. And therefore y is equal to 1, right? So that's how we solve this pair of simultaneous equation, right? Alright guys, so this brings us to the end of our first session, right? First free session. You all came out lucky because in June we have 5 Tuesdays and we have 5 Wednesdays, right? So therefore we're going to have 4 more sessions when it comes to the CSEC Maths crash course, right? So what we've done, we've tackled questions that could potentially come in question 2 of the exam, right? Remember, your exam consists of 10 compulsory questions, and the second question is based on algebra, right? So the next class will be next week, Tuesday, right? If I do get time during the week, I may decide to go live at any point in time. So that's why I told you all to subscribe so you'll know when I go live, right? So that's it for me, guys. So tomorrow, which is Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we're gonna have CSEC physics, right, at 3 o'clock. And next week, Monday, we're gonna have chemistry at 3 o'clock. All right, so that's it for me, guys. I hope the 2-hour session was great for you guys, right? Good luck with your studying, right? You still have time, so practice, practice, practice. That is what maths requires. All right, so that's it for me, guys. Bye, everybody. All right, later, everybody.